Aloha everybody, it's Salvador Arcade from Hip Tiki TV with another episode of Designing Tiki. This time with another set of Loyal Order of Drooling Bastards Grog Log plaques. A couple of bastards ended up finishing their Grog Log list, which is 78 drinks within a year at the Tonga Hut Tiki Lounge in North Hollywood, California. And they commissioned me to design, or actually fabricate their plaques to put up once they go in. Some of them actually have finished, and one of them is actually going to finish once I deliver one of their plaques to them. But basically everyone had their own ideas. They have their names that they wanted to go with, and while some of them are a little bit more specific of what they wanted, others had like a loose concept or idea, which I helped with them to develop something. And I'll post a little behind the scenes here. For a lot of these, I always start out by hand drawing everything. I have to be able to sketch out my ideas, like whether it's gonna be like this, something like that, or like the ball with inside and Lochnar. Here, it always starts out being drawn, no matter what. With this set, actually, I took it into Illustrator, which is an Adobe Creative Suite application, and I vectorized everything just to kind of get to composite everything the way I wanted it to look, basically, and to make sure that everything was right in terms of measurements and following the parameters of being 2x6. All these had to follow. So I did that as well, and you'll see that here when I post them up here, all the different versions of it. So I had like the hand-drawn version, and in some cases I colored it in just to give them an idea what the color palette would look like, and then just a basic looking Illustrator flat vector file just to get the measurements. I would cut it out and use that to also help me measure exactly how big the letters would be, like all these fonts right here, which is everything is sculpted in Super Sculpey and hand sculpted, like I said. And it's very small, like I said, so it's very hard. These are some of the similar tools that I use. I have a Dremel tool that it helps me kind of shave down some pieces, sanding down like the edges right here. This is based off the Hanalei Hotel, which is now the the Crown Plaza, I should say. And yeah, so you can see it's, if you see here the actual image of the original, it's at Hanalei Hotel, and this is like these letters are in bamboo with some bamboo sticks holding up the sign. It also said islands here because there's the restaurant there. This was actually pretty tricky because even though it looks simple in its output, it was a lot harder to do, especially because of how small it was to sculpt that. Second one was Lochnar, which is based off of a heavy metal show, and not a show, a comic and a film. And I think they did two animated films. But Lochnar, they just basically wanted the ball of energy on a gray board, and I said, you know what, let's make it look like it's bursting through the actual plaque, seething and surging with power. And actually, this is all coated with glow-in-the-dark paint, so you can actually see it like that, which is pretty neat. And you can see it's still not fully, and this is after like maybe 6 different coats of paint on it, but yeah, it takes a while to really layer this stuff on. Unfortunately, it's really dark in that bar, so who knows if you'll ever get a chance to charge it enough to see it glow in the dark. But at least it does do it. It works. I fulfilled my promise. The last one is the Miss Kitty Fantastiki, and this is actually Kat, who is a bartender there as well. Fantastic person. She actually finished it along with Jeremy here the same day I finished my Grog Log. And like this is how sometimes it takes a while to get your plaques finished, and unfortunately her name was very long and kind of difficult for me to sculpt so small. Now normally I would probably take it over to a 3D printer. I just didn't have access to one this time around. Hopefully I'll fix that by the next round, maybe, who knows. But I decided to print it out and focus my efforts more on the actual cat face that she asked for. And I kind of channeled Bosco here in terms of how he does a sculpt, and still very kind of driftwood looking. With the highlights as part of the cracks in the wood are light paint, just so they stand out in the dark bar. Now this also has a very cool functional lo-fi optical illusion, which is the following eye trick. And this is actually, I had this in mind prior to Thor announcing his shaman mug for Undertow. That one looks pretty awesome, but it's basically sunken in eyes. You can see right here, it's all sunken in with the eyes drawn in the back, so you kind of get that cool effect. I really love it. Actually, that was a really fun thing to do in a plaque, so people see that that cat's eyes. So that cat's eyes are following me. Yeah. So that's pretty much it for this one. Like I said, all of it was done in like Infirm or regular Super Sculpey. Had a lot of fun doing these. Kind of showing a couple of different tools that I use. Obviously, I have like a sandpaper to sand down the rough form of a lot of this, just so it's smooth enough to paint on, and also to lay the letters on them. This is probably my favorite tool. The most used tool in when I'm sculpting anything is just because it's pulling and yanking on everything. We want like a rounded edge or a more sharp edge there. It's, you know, this is the workhorse tool that you use just to kind of yank everything out. And of course, I didn't really use it as much for this. I think I use it a lot for this one, but I also use like regular straight knife style. It wasn't necessarily a knife, but it was kind of just like these style knives, just cutting pieces off and cutting these little, you know, cuts inside. Also here for this, just kind of really just digging in there with the smaller knives. That's pretty much it for this designing tiki episode. I hope you guys got some cool insight in terms of how these were made. And if you guys are deciding to do that challenge, the Grog Log at Tonga Hut, you have a year to do it. So even if you're for those travelers out there, you could come back a couple of times a year, make it happen, drink drink through your whole trip. But if you do plan on doing this and you need somebody to help you make a plaque, hit me up. I'm always down to make and work on some more of these. As always, check out hiparcade.com for all your hip tiki needs. And mahalo.